Hi there, I'm Lisa Taylor, and welcome to Choose to Be You. If you are a member of our community, you know very well that I am a firm believer in the fact that we need to courageously choose to be who God made us to be. We need to courageously step into that authentic place of our true being. So many people in the world are struggling with being happy, feeling fulfilled, finding life purpose. And science shows that it comes down to, do you really know who you are? Do you really know what you want? Well, over my life, I have struggled mightily with these questions, as we all do. And I've come up with 3 simple steps to get to this level of clarity. Getting clear about who you are and what you want, being consistent in a daily practice that helps you get to that clarity, and then courageously going out and contributing your true authentic self to the world, because that's what's needed. The world has need of you being you. Well, recently I did a 5-hour live event and I invited 9 global thought leaders to the table to talk about this very subject, choose to be you, and courageously choosing to be who God made us to be. So I welcome you to listen to these interviews. I'm bringing them to you one by one. So let's now begin with the next introduction. So now I want to introduce you to our next guest. She is the creator of something known as pastology, the cutting edge field that focuses on the synergy between pastoring and psychology. She has a doctoral degree from Hofstra and a master's in divinity from Yale. And aside from being a pastologist, she's a transformational leader, a TEDx speaker, an author, and a retreat leader. Her approach honors the sacred within us to help us achieve greatness while embracing our own and others' humanity. Please welcome to the studio, Reverend Dr. Terrlyn Curry Avery.
Hello.
Terrlyn,
Hi.
hi.
Good morning. Good
So
morning.
good to see you.
You as well. And I just have to say, I was so fascinated listening to Julie and talking about this energy that lives within us. And I was just right there going, yes, 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 yes. We have this powerful energy that dwells within, that connects us to higher self. It's just so great. So yes,
So how
I'm
did you
all yours.
tell us a little bit about how you ended up going into divinity and what was your path to sort of recognizing and feeling that power and feeling the pull to do that in your life?
Well, I think it actually speaks to what Julie is talking about paying attention to that higher voice. And for me, I was a practicing psychologist and, I kept hearing this voice. People actually, there were voices of other people who would just say to me out of the blue, seemingly, have you ever thought about becoming a minister? And I
Oh,
would say,
wow.
no, 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 I don't want to become a minister,
Wow.
because the secret is that like church people are crazy.
Yeah.
So, um,
Have you heard?
so the whole time I was in divinity school and I would say that, they would laugh at me and they would say, "You're a psychologist. Of course you work with crazy people, right?" I said, the difference is when people come to me, they are coming because they know that there's something they need to work on. Church
Yeah.
people don't even realize it, right? So,
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
what happened to me was that this voice, these voices out of the blue would say this. And then one day I was listening to someone do a sermon on "Can you hear me now?"
Yeah.
And she kept punctuating everything that she talked about with "Can you hear me now?" Her story mirrored my story. And I just knew that it was the voice of, I define the sacred as God for me, but realize there's something else for other people. And so I knew in that moment that God was speaking to me saying, now it's time. It's time for you to do this now. So after she preached, I said to her, I need to talk to you, because I was at a women's retreat. And I said, I need to talk to you, but I'll talk to you later, because I was just so shaken.
Uh-huh.
And she saw something on my face and she said, no, come now, come now.
Oh, wow.
So I go and I talk to her and I'm in tears.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And she said, you know, you know.
Okay, I'm getting chills. It's like, so
So I,
that was
that's
the
it. I told her what was happening for me inside. And she said, I'm not surprised. She said, Terrlyn, I'm not surprised. And I told 2 other ministers, and those were their exact words.
wow.
Terrlyn, I'm not surprised. So in this particular case, there are times that the sacred will confirm things that
Mhm.
other folks are saying to you. And it's when people sort of recognize that light that you may not even recognize even within yourself or you're running from.
Yes.
I ran from
Yes.
it a long time.
Yes.
And
I
I
hear
kept
that.
saying, I'm already serving. I am already, I mean, like really, as a psychologist, I'm
Yeah.
already serving, right? And
Yes.
so, but then her question, the woman who I talked to, fellow clergy, she said, but what more can you do as an ordained minister that you cannot do simply as a psychologist? And
Wow.
that has been a very powerful question that stays with me forever because over time, what the sacred has revealed a lot of wounds of religion.
Yes.
So if I enter that conversation as clergy and not just as a psychologist, it carries a different weight with it.
Right. So have you found that that really is your calling as a minister? Now, do you say minister or pastor, reverend? What
Both.
every it's like
It's all
I
of
don't
it.
know the right term. It's
So
like
I am a reverend. I
you're a
actually
reverend.
a reverend in a Presbyterian church, and
Okay.
there's a whole big process for becoming that. You know, you just get your master's of divinity, you have to take these 5 exams, you have to get called to a church. I mean, it's a big
It's a big
process.
deal. Yeah.
So, but I do actually pastor a church as well. And so I believe that my calling is really my mission is to help people know that they're divinely created and loved unconditionally. And that's what I loved about what Julie was talking about, this divinity in us.
So when you got sort of the calling to do this and you stepped into it, and have you found that it has been a bigger platform for you than psychology?
It most certainly has. I I just absolutely love helping people no matter what front. And so I have found that my whole platform is about our sacred relationship, our selfish relationship, and then our shared relationship.
Okay, so
So
how do we get how do we get more aligned with or more in tune with or have a greater understanding of that sacred relationship?
spending time with that sacred
But what if
relationship.
I don't know? What if I have no idea what the sacred is? Like, what if I have no, I don't like, where do I start if I have nothing to go on? I
I,
wasn't brought up in anything
yeah,
with anything sacred. I like, where do I go?
I think Julie actually gave us a clue when she started talking about paying attention to that internal part of us.
Yeah.
The sacred is always dwelling within here. We don't have to look outside of here. And if we spend some quiet time with that
Mhm.
sacred, you could be walking down the beach. You could be in your shower. You know how you get those bright ideas when you're in the shower
Mhm.
and there are
Yep.
these great things, and you're like, oh my gosh, when I get out of the shower, I have to write this down. I see that as sacred speaking. Even
Yeah.
as you're guided in your business, you're guided in your relationship. And it's really about cultivating that relationship. You don't have to search for it, it's there.
Yeah.
So I would invite our guests to think about, where can I just go to have some quiet time and
Yeah.
begin to write or begin to journal and to begin to pay attention to what lies deep within me? Because there's already a conversation that's going on deep within all of us that's just waiting to erupt.
What is it? How does it show up for you? Like, what form does it take for you?
Oh, for me, oh man, it takes so many different forms. So, one of the forms it takes often is someone will say something that's seemingly out of the blue,
Yeah.
but not just the one person. It then becomes confirmation from other people, and it's seemingly out of the blue. Often for me, every morning I get up, I do a prayer, I have some sort of meditation that I read.
Mhm.
I also have a group that's called Prayer Time with Dr. Terrlyn on Facebook. So I get up and I write a prayer every morning.
Oh,
Just
wow.
it's to source, to the beloved, to God. Each day is whatever it feels like is channeling through me to do. That is me paying attention to what the sacred is guiding me to do. I also pay close attention to other spiritual leaders. I
Mhm.
pay attention, and not just Christian.
Yeah.
I broaden my perspective to hear what other folks say. I love nature as well. Um, and so I go out and I pay attention to what's happening in nature. I am in Connecticut. The foliage is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, wow.
So it's an opportunity for me just to sit in nature, to watch like creation just unfold. And often the voice of God for me speaks to me in that way. Again, journaling is a perfect way. And of course, I have to write a sermon every week.
Yeah.
So God is often speaking to me when I'm pastoring, when I'm preparing my sermon. And that's a secret for all of you out there who are in church. When ministers are speaking, they're not speaking just to you. It's like God is working on
Yeah,
that.
through them. So say you have kind of that alignment happening, right? Then you mentioned three things. One is the alignment with the sacred, right? One is the alignment with
The self.
self, and then the other is the alignment with humanity.
Yes.
That's from being able to give. So alignment with self, how does that differ from alignment with the sacred?
So that's a very good question, because at some point there shouldn't be a difference between sacred.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So now I think I hear what you're saying. So
Yes, but
expand.
however, just following up on what Julie said, is we sometimes allow other things to overshadow that voice that's within.
Yeah.
So the selfish piece to me is learning how to spend time with self and setting boundaries, learning how to say no when other folks want your time, your energy, your peace. Alignment with the self involves understanding that I am going to manifest my greatness.
Okay,
And
wait,
when
pause. I want to just hear that. I am going to manifest my greatness. I just got chilled when you said that, so I know it's big. It's like tweet, tweet,
yes,
tweetable moment.
because here's what
Yeah.
happens. If I manifest my greatness, that means I will be careful about what I do to myself, what
Yes,
I allow other people to do to me, and
yes.
what I do to other folks.
Okay, so I want to touch on this in relationship to what you said kind of earlier on about helping people be healed from sort of religious trauma, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of times in a church situation or in a kind of a dogmatic kind of religious arena, we feel governed by, imposed on by the rules and the regulations, and we feel beholden to that rather than to that sense of self that you were just talking about.
Right.
So how do you, because when you're in a faith institution, it becomes, I think, even more difficult to say no, because then you're denying, somehow it's related to, it feels like you're denying your faith when you're not, but the structure kind of makes you feel that way. So how do you overcome that?
Yeah. So that's a beautiful question, because faith isn't about the church or the people.
Right.
Faith is about my relationship with the sacred. So me saying no to a person is not me saying no to God.
Right.
And people confuse those two things. Even as pastor of a church, I always say to people, you have a voice. You have a right to
Yeah.
say no to me. You do not have to listen to me just because. Now, obviously, as a leader, I feel like I'm doing a good job leading.
Right.
And I want you to hear my voice. But because you are divinely created and that the sacred has already given you tools that you need, you can say no. What I would invite them to do is you spend time with the sacred and see what answer is right for you.
Yeah.
Don't,
Yeah.
I am a person, and the beauty of me understanding who God is and the sacred is in my life is that I get to ask questions and I get to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God loves me unconditionally. And there's nothing that I could ever do to separate me from that love. And because of that, when someone in church wants to make me feel badly about who I am and how I show up, that is not of God.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go to the third step. And this is pretty loaded because there's so many different arenas we could go into.
Mhm.
We want to be able to share our true self with humanity. And I'm going to start off with the tough question. What happens when humanity or the circumstance or the laws or the behaviors of society in the moment is not allowing me to do that? Then what are my choices?
Mm. So it's interesting that you say not allowing me to do that, because that is loaded.
Yes.
I believe that we always have choice.
Okay. Me
I
too.
believe that the choice may be a difficult one, but
Okay.
we still have a choice. So I will give you an example based on a part of what I am doing right now with my shared relationships, is that I offer a lot of courses on race.
Right.
Well, I offer 2 courses. Let me be clear. I offer 2 courses on race. One is a 6-week one and one is a 3-week one. But I understand that as a woman of color, that when I walk into spaces, people are going to automatically view me differently.
Yeah.
Only because of implicit biases. And we don't know what we don't know. We don't understand that when I walk in and I'm very expressive when I talk, or if I'm not smiling, people say, well, why do you look angry? I'm not looking angry. I'm just showing up and being who I am. And so often, especially Black women are termed the angry Black woman, right? So I can choose to go in and not be my authentic self and just smile all the time if I don't feel like smiling, and just, just be this
Kind of play the role
right.
of what's expected.
And I can choose to do that because I know that in some circumstances, how I will be seen and it will have repercussions.
Right.
That's a choice that I'm making because of society's roles and understanding of who I am, but I don't choose to show up that way.
Yeah.
When I go out and I speak at a protest on Black Lives Matter, I get to choose to do that, whether people want to hear it or not.
Right.
And I choose to do it. But I also know that that means I may not have certain clients. They may decide that they don't want to work with me anymore. Now, I fortunately have not had that.
Yeah.
But my point is, I have to understand that just because I show up the way that I want to show up, there may be consequences for that.
Right. So
But I get to choose.
but how do you have the courage, and how do you help others have the courage to show up regardless of what the potential ramifications will be? Because there are 2 questions. One, and that kind of but first is, does showing up authentically as you, regardless of societal's pushback, does that ultimately push that farther out so that you don't have as much of it? Or is that not the formula? Like, do you know what I mean? Does it help to just be brave and just show up as you are, regardless of?
So what helps is me having that relationship with the sacred.
Yeah.
Because my grounding in who I am as a manifestation of the sacred in my own divinity, then I am guided by that voice to say, is this the right time to do X, Y, and Z?
Oh, I love that.
It does not mean that I'm just going to go out and not think about it. I live in Connecticut, and there's some parts of Connecticut that if I wear a Black Lives Matter shirt, something could happen. So I have to think about in that moment, the wisdom of making the choice that I'm making. Is this a battle that I need to fight right now? Or am I better served doing X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
But
The right thing at the wrong time is no longer the right thing, right?
That's right. And so it's about being connected. It's not about me just saying, well, I can just go out and do whatever I want to. I don't have to care what anybody else thinks. I also think about, what is my larger message and what is my larger purpose?
Yep.
And the decision that I make in this moment, how will it impact me further? And how will it impact the people that I serve? So when I work with people in my trainings on dismantling racism, I often say to them, you have to decide, what is the sacrifice for you?
Yeah.
What are you willing to give up in order
You're
to do?
talking about 2 kind of different layers of self-awareness. What do I want right now in this moment? Which for some people is really kind of the first step, Do I know myself? Do I even know what I want? And then what is my larger why? What is my larger desire? And is my momentary thing going to serve that? But those are two different levels of self-awareness that a lot of people may not even be aware of, that there are these two different levels and how those two things work together. Because I really like the way you're describing that, because it makes it very clear that, oh yeah, I may know what I want, but does that line up with what I really want ultimately? And am I serving that by doing what I want in this moment? And what is it that gives people the perspective in the moment? Like, is there something people can do to sort of practice that awareness so that when you go into a hot situation, you can go, oh, wait, does this decision serve my bigger why or my bigger purpose? Is there something we can do to practice that?
The practice is perfect because it's the consistency. I didn't just step into this today.
Right.
I had a grounding in the sacred all my life, really. And I've had to consistently walk in the faith of who I am. And I want to say this. When we do something for the first couple of times, it feels very uncomfortable to us. It is the practice and the consistency that will help us move. The first time any of your guests on here say no to someone that they haven't said no to before, it's going to feel icky inside, but you'll get through it.
Yeah.
Deal with the discomfort of the situation. And I want to say this, trust yourself.
Yeah.
Think about the decisions that you've made in the past where they've been really good decisions. And you have to recall those things to be able to give you the strength that you need to make the difficult choices. And then tap into that sacred self to say, does this feel in alignment with who I am? So it requires being in tune with the feelings that are just, so there are a couple feelings we have. That icky feeling when it says this isn't right for me and it isn't in alignment. And then there's a feeling of fear sometimes in a way. Pay attention to those two things because they're very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot to take in. Good grief. I don't know how I'm going to manage with all of these, you guys, all my guests. It's like you have so much. I'm going to be like walking out with my head exploding. So I want to know, what is you said it takes practice. So I want to know, what is your day-to-day practice? You talked a little bit about sort of doing your morning prayer that you offer, but what's your get up in the morning? What's your practice that keeps you kind of spiritually fit, spiritually aligned, so that you have all the tools you need spiritually at the ready and you can kind of use them as you go? What is your recommendation?
So for me, because I start my day out that way, it's already grounding me.
Yeah.
And then I do check-ins throughout the day with if something does not seem like it's right or appropriate. So, say if someone asks me to do something, appear on a summit, for instance,
Yeah.
it's like, is that the right thing for me to do right now? Like to do that check-in. Pausing is so important.
Okay.
And it's good for us to take a step back. A lot of people will quickly respond to something. Those people, you send them an email and they just respond right away. And you're like, did you read the email?
Yeah. Do you say yes to everything? What?
Yeah. So pausing and checking inwardly with myself to say, does this feel like this is something that I need to do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it going to serve the bigger purpose? I have a few people that I do check-ins with because there's nothing
What
wrong.
do you mean by check-in?
So let's say if there's something that I am undecided about, I might have a good friend that I will call and talking it out, like saying it out loud. They may not even give me the answer.
Yeah.
But as I talk about it, I'm churning it in my head.
And a lot of times we reveal ourselves. Like as we say it, we go, oh, I really don't want to do that. Or, oh, I really do want to do that. Like you start to hear what you're saying, like you're saying, the friend doesn't usually have to say much because you end up giving it away just by saying it out loud.
Yeah. And the other thing that I do is I have friends and family who take me constantly to a higher level of consciousness.
How?
So
How do
even
they do
though
that?
in
How?
our
Oh, how?
in our
I want to know.
so in our
Wait.
conversations,
Yeah.
they will challenge me to just
Ah,
think more broadly because I bring in other sources. They bring in other sources,
yeah.
and they will ask me a question that will open the door for me to think broadly
Yeah.
about something that I'm thinking about. So it's always nice to get folks who are at the sort of same level of consciousness and growth as you,
Mhm.
but also those people who are at a higher level of consciousness as well, who can just help you to keep growing and growing and growing. And I have
Yeah.
lots of friends like that and family.
Well, you're a very, very fortunate woman to have, and they are fortunate to have you, I must say. And we are getting kind of close to our time, and I don't want to go too long without asking you. I know you had something that you wanted to offer our viewers, and I wanted to have you have a chance to talk about that.
So I want to just invite your viewers. I have two free gifts actually that are online. And if you go to sacredintelligence.com.
Okay, and it's in the, I think it's going to be in the chat, so you guys who
Yeah,
are watching
yeah.
can get for it in the chat.
So I have a PDF of 3 essential relationships to manifest your greatness. It's all about the sacred, selfish, and shared relationships that we have. And then secondly, if you are at all interested in a PDF on dismantling racism, I also offer a PDF there that talks about taking a breath, the 6 essential tools to really help you begin to dismantle racism. So I would invite you to download those as well and just begin that process of being in tune with yourself and learning how to be you and show
And
up in the world
we
authentically.
should also talk about your 2 books, The Sacred Intelligence, the essence of sacred, sacred,
Selfish
sacred,
and
selfish,
shared
shared
relationships.
relationship, right? And then the other one, Sacred Intelligence, Leading with Passion and Faith During Unprecedented Times. Now, is that one out yet?
That one is not out. It's going to be out in February if I
Okay. All
get
right.
all
So
the
we'll
work
look for
done.
that one
But
because that one sounds great.
but the Sacred Intelligence one is a self-help book, and I actually talk about some tools for developing your relationship with the sacred. I also have tools for examining your own gook inside of
Yeah,
yourself
I
to
love that word.
strengthen your relationship. And then I have one on talking about our shared relationships. But the book that's coming out in February, we'll also take a look at faith and racism. You know, how do we live our lives
Yes.
of faith during these unprecedented times of
Yeah.
racism?
Well,
So,
I look forward to that. I really appreciate your work in the world. It's so needed. And thank you so much for being on this program. I
thank
really, I bless you for saying yes. And it's so nice to meet you and to
yes,
get to know you. And you're now on
likewise.
my list. So
Yes,
beware.
likewise. Thank you so much, Lisa, for
All
having
right.
me. Really
Thanks,
enjoyed it.
Terrlyn, so much.
All right, take
See you
care.
next time.
Thank you so much for joining us. I am Lisa Taylor, and this is Choose to Be You. We are bringing you this series of interviews that we did during a live event when I invited 9 global thought leaders to the table to talk about this subject. So please do watch for the other ones in the series. They are posted here on YouTube, and you can watch them all. Be in touch with me at lisataylorcs.com if you would like to know more. And I look forward to your being a member of this community. We are mighty, and we are strong, and we are changing the world. If you can see who you are, you can be who you are. And the world has need of you being authentically who you are meant to be. So much love to you, and do join us next time. Thanks for being here.